Ivanka gets absolutely no sympathy from me, and I think from most American women who have to, and men who have to balance all sorts of duties. Girl, I fly back and forth between Miami and New York at least twice a week, and I don't have a private jet or $2 billion from the Saudis.
Yeah.
So I think you can do it for one day. There's a bunch of people, women who show up to court pregnant like this. Yeah. There's people who, you know, have to show up and balance work duties. She's got the means, certainly. I mean, she was at Kim Kardashian's birthday just a couple of weeks ago. She traveled all over the world when she was at the White House, yeah, and the children were even smaller. And also, don't these children have a father that can take care of them on a school day?
Yesterday, I sat in on the Hunter Biden deposition for hours. Republicans once again proved and provided zero evidence, failing to show any sort of link between Hunter Biden and the president. No links between those business dealings. This entire case is a political stunt and a joke. Donald Trump ordered House Republicans to smear President Biden. They tried and tried and tried and failed. But I want to remind everyone about the real White House crime family. Why did Saudi Arabia give Jared Kushner $2 billion, billion with a B, just months after he left the Trump White House? And why did the Saudis spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at Trump properties while he was still the president? We also know that Jared Kushner used his cushy White House job to secure a $100 billion arms deal for Saudi Arabia and did other favors as well. Now, some members of the majority actually agree that this was unethical. And in fact, a few weeks ago, Jared Kushner was asked by a reporter about his grift. He responded, "Are we still really doing this?" Yes, Jared, we are still really doing this. The American people deserve answers. I rise yet again to urge my colleagues across the aisle to answer our calls and subpoena Jared Kushner's companies once and for all. We are not stopping, and we demand answers. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield back my time.
Today we heard testimony from Ivanka Trump, our last witness in our trial against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and other defendants. For the past 5 weeks, we have heard from dozens of witnesses who worked at and with the Trump Organization and had intimate knowledge of their business practices. We also heard from the defendants themselves. The testimony of these individuals and the accompanying exhibits show the incredible scale and scope of Donald Trump's fraudulent business practices and that they were used to enrich himself and his company. Ivanka Trump was a senior executive at the Trump Organization, and she played an integral role in negotiating and securing loans on some of the company's most high-profile properties. As the leader of the old post office project in Washington, D.C., Ivanka used her father's fraudulent statements of financial condition to secure better terms on loans from Deutsche Bank. The Trump Organization later sold the property, and the proceeds totaled $139 million. You see, Ivanka Trump's ties to the family business run deep, and they all profited as a result. We rested our case today. Next, the defense will present their case. As we have shown, and as the judge has already ruled, Donald Trump and his company committed repeated fraud. I am confident that we will prevail on the rest of our case because the facts don't lie.
In addition to that, if we want to talk about charges that have been dismissed, and if we do want to follow the evidence, perhaps we should discuss Ivanka Trump's investigation who was close to being charged with felony fraud after Donald Trump's personal attorney provided political contributions to the local DA. Those charges were dismissed, and ultimately we saw that DA Vance, President Trump's attorney, provided over $50,000 in political contributions after the case was dismissed. So when we talk about political contributions, I would hope, if we are following the evidence, that we are willing, that this committee, if this committee is going to go there, that they be willing to open investigations into the dismissal of charges against Ivanka Trump.
In your interactions with the Biden family, which you've told us all about throughout the day, Did you ever observe the Chinese government grant 22 patents to any of Joe Biden's children while Joe Biden was in office?
I did not.
Did you ever observe the Chinese government, did you ever observe Joe Biden ever own or operate any hotels while he was in public office and take millions of dollars from foreign governments?
I did not.
Did you ever observe Joe Biden employ any of his children or their spouses in the White House as vice president or president?
I did not. I can't speak to that.
Did you ever observe, while observing the Bidens install a family member to be the co-chair of the DNC?
I'm sorry, ask the question again?
Did you ever observe the Bidens install a family member to be the co-chair of the Democratic National Committee?
I did not.
Did President Biden or anyone in his family take $2 billion from the Saudi government?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did President Biden or anyone in his family get fined $355 million for tax fraud?
Not that I'm aware of.
Mr. Parnas, as you've observed Mr. Bobulinski today and his fealty and dedication and loyalty to the Trump family, is that something you recognize as somebody who was also in that cult before?
Absolutely.
Is there hope for our man Tony here?
Very little, I think, until he hits a brick wall.
And in your experience, on a scale of 1 to 10, how eager was the Trump campaign in your interactions to manufacture dirt on Joe Biden? 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
10 plus.
10 plus. Would it surprise you, Mr. Parnas, that the Russians and in their disinformation campaign outlets have often cited Chairman Comer's testimony and allegations against the Biden family to make their own allegations against Joe Biden?
No, it doesn't surprise me because that's exactly what they want to happen.
Mr. Chairman, it's over. It's over. It's time to pack it up.
And when we talk about political influence, we are not here today, unfortunately, because the facts have brought us here. We are here today because Donald Trump is exerting an influence campaign in Congress when he is no longer president of the United States. In addition to that, if we want to talk about charges that have been dismissed, and if we do want to follow the evidence, perhaps we should discuss Ivanka Trump's investigation who was close to being charged with felony fraud after Donald Trump's personal attorney provided political contributions to the local DA. Those charges were dismissed, and ultimately we saw that DA Vance, President Trump's attorney, provided over $50,000 in political contributions after the case was dismissed. So when we talk about political contributions, I would hope, if we are following the evidence, that we are willing, that this committee, if this committee is going to go there, that they be willing to open investigations into the dismissal of charges against Ivanka Trump. And, by the way, if the gentlelady from Georgia wanted to follow evidence, we should also take a look at, hypothetically, a case where sex trafficking charges against a 17-year-old girl potentially...
The gentlelady's time's expired.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Chair now recognizes...
For when you absolutely have to be first, Mar-a-Lago Labs presents Plea Bargain by Ivanka Trump. When it's time to throw daddy under the bus, it's Plea Bargain by Ivanka.
What was your view at the time as to what he should or shouldn't say?
I don't know that I had a firm view as to what he should say in that circumstance. The results were still being counted. It was becoming clear that the race would not be called on election night.
My belief, my recommendation was to say that votes were still being counted. It's too early to tell, too early to call the race, but we proud of the race we ran, and we think we're in good position, and we'll have more to say about this the next day or the next day, whenever we had something to say.
And did anybody who was a part of that conversation disagree with your message?
Yes.
Who was that?
the president disagreed with that. I don't recall the particular words. He thought I was wrong. He told me so, and that they were going to, go he was going to go in a different direction.
What we've learned from you also is, or what we've inherited from you is also the gene of being deal junkies.
When Ivanka Trump was an executive vice president at the Trump Organization, she worked on a lot of deals. And we found that Ivanka made false statements about some of those deals. First, in 2008, the Trump Organization was promoting a new tower in Panama.
And this project is certainly exemplary of just the grandeur in which we like to enter a market.
This is never before heard audio of an interview Ivanka did with Portfolio magazine about the project.
In Panama, we sold at a 500% premium.
500% premium? That's not true. It was more like 130% on a good day. In our latest episode of Trump Inc., we found that Ivanka and the Trump Organization developed a pattern of misrepresenting how their projects were doing. In 2008, Ivanka told journalists that the Trump Soho Hotel in New York City was 60% sold. But, according to a sworn affidavit by a Trump partner 2 years later, the building was only 15% sold. In 2009, the misstatements continued.
We have projects all over the world that are incredibly successful, that are under construction right now, that have their financing secured, and that are virtually sold out. So from Hawaii to Toronto.
The Trump International Hotel and Tower in Toronto was never sold out. And then, Baja.
The best site in northern Baja and arguably Mexico. I actually chose to purchase a unit in the first tower.
Technically, Ivanka did buy a unit in Baja, but she got a special deal. And then the project collapsed.
It's not clear where the money went. The Trump Organization now says it was never the developer. It designed the product and simply lent its name to the project.
Good morning. We're going on the record at approximately 9:51 a.m. on August 3rd, 2022. Please note that the microphones are sensitive and may pick up whispering, private conversations, and cellular interference. Please turn off all cell phones or place them away from the microphones as they can interfere with the deposition audio. Audio and video recording will continue to take place unless all parties agree to go off the record. This is Media Unit 1 of the video recorded deposition of Ivanka Trump in the matter of the State of New York, Office of the Attorney General, In Re Financial Statements Investigation. This examination is being taken by the New York State Office of the Attorney General, located at 28 Liberty Street, New York, New York. My name is Thomas Devine with Veritex New York, and I'm the videographer. The co-reporter is Sylvia Wage, also with Veritex New York. I am not authorized to administer an oath. I am not related to any party in this action, nor am I financially interested in the outcome. Counsel and all present, and everyone appearing remotely, will now please state their appearances and affiliations for the record. If there are any objections to proceeding, please state them at the time of your appearance, beginning with the noticing attorney.
Louis M. Solomon from the Office of the Attorney General.
Colleen Kelly Ferry, Assistant Attorney General.
Austin Thompson, Assistant Attorney General. Andrew Amer, Special Counsel, Attorney General's Office.
Alex Finkelstein, Assistant Attorney General.
Kevin Wallace, Senior Enforcement Counsel with the Attorney General.
Eric Aaron, Special Counsel.
On this side, Alan Futerfass for Ms. Trump.
Bettina Shine of Counsel to Law Offices of Alan Futerfass for Ms. Trump.
Mr. Futerfass, I ask you to wear. Oh, you have your microphone on.
It's
Thank
right
you.
here.
I'll turn it up. Thank you.
And we're accompanied by a paralegal, Eleanor Buse, B-U-S-E. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia, would you mind swearing in the witness?
Ms. Trump, if you could please raise your right hand so I can administer the oath. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Trump. As you've heard, I am Louis M. Solomon. I am the Chief of Enforcement in the Real Estate Finance Bureau in the New York Attorney General's Office. Also present today with us in the room are Colleen Ferry, Austin Thompson, Andrew Amer, Alex Finkelstein, Kevin Wallace, Samantha Stern, and Eric Harron. Also participating on the WebEx are Will Hanley and Stephanie Torrey from my office. Now, although WebEx has a recording feature, we are not using that today. This testimonial session will be recorded by video and stenographic means by a videographer and court reporter certified to record testimonial sessions and depositions in the state of New York. Before we proceed, other than your devices for purposes of this testimonial session, please turn off all cell phones, laptops, tablets, and other electronic devices. This examination is being conducted by the Attorney General of the State of New York pursuant to the Martin Act and Executive Law 6312. Before we begin your testimony, I'd like to give you a few ground rules. You have the right to consult with an attorney. Although you do not have a right to have an attorney with you in this examination, the Attorney General will permit you to have your attorney present during your testimony today. Your attorney's role will be limited to consulting with you on issues of privilege. This is not a civil deposition. Your attorney will not be permitted to interpose objections, as is done in civil depositions, and will not be permitted to interrupt the questioning other than for issues of privilege. Anything you say in this examination may be used in a legal proceeding, which includes but is not limited to civil litigation, criminal prosecution, or regulatory proceedings. You have the right to refuse to answer any question if a truthful answer to the question would tend to incriminate you. Any willful misstatement by you may constitute perjury. Neither you nor anyone acting on your behalf has the right to obtain a copy of the transcript of your testimony here today from the reporter or the videographer. And the court reporter and videographer are directed not to release copies of the transcript to anyone other than representatives of the Attorney General's office. Finally, this investigation is confidential. We request that you not discuss this matter, your testimony, and documents reviewed here today, or any documents you have produced or may produce in connection with today's testimony with anyone other than your attorneys. Extensive note-taking or an attempt to create a transcript of the proceedings here by you or counsel is not authorized and will not be permitted. A few other instructions that will help this examination go as smoothly as possible. In order for the court reporter to create a clear record, please answer all questions verbally, as the reporter cannot take down a nod of the head or a shrug of the shoulders. Please let me finish each question before you begin your answer, and I will allow you to finish your answer before asking my next question. If you need to take a break at any time, just let me know. If there's a question pending, I would ask that you respond to that question before the break, however. If at any point you do not understand a question, please let me know, and I will rephrase it. If you answer a question, I and anyone reading the transcript will assume that you understood the question. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes you may give an answer as completely as you can and then later remember additional information. If that happens, please tell me that you would like to add something to an earlier answer, and we'll do it right then while it's on your mind. In addition, a recollection that you knew by no later than 2011 that your father had financial statements?
It doesn't, no.
When you sent, withdrawn. When you advised Mr. Beal that your father would be sending his most recent financial statement, did you discuss the financial statement with your father before it was sent?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure what it means by recent financial statement. So I don't.
You wrote it, ma'am. What did you mean?
Like I said, I don't remember the email I could have meant. I don't know. It could have been on the property. It could have been on any number of things. So I just don't know.
That's not what your email says. My father will send you his most recent financial statement. The prior sentence, you mentioned that you were including marketing materials on the property as well as our projections. And in our, you're referring to the Trump Organization, right?
Or his and ours, yes. I mean, I use them a little interchangeably, but yeah, I don't know.
I think the last sentence is clear. My father will this is your statement. My father will also send you his most recent financial statement.
Okay.
Do you understand that to mean that it was your father's financial statement?
I mean, it says what it says, but I don't have any recollection of this. I don't know what I meant by it, or I don't recall having sent it, so I don't know.
But in the prior sentence, you use the word our for projections.
I see that, yes.
But in this sentence, you say his.
Okay.
There's a distinction between those words, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And this doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form to remember that your father had financial statements.
Like, I've never said of course he has financial, the company has, we have tons of financial statements, but it doesn't help me recall anything specific beyond what is written here, no.
Okay, let's go back then. Maybe I misunderstood your earlier testimony, and when we're done with this, we can take a break.
Yeah.
Because I know you had requested one a moment ago.
Thanks.
Are you aware that your father had financial statements?
I mean, we have a huge business and we have assets, and each one of them has tons of both projections and statements. So we have, yes, many.
Okay. Let me take a step back. We talked about I make a distinction when I say your father and when I say the Trump Organization. So I'm not asking about the Trump Organization's financial statements.
Okay.
I'm not asking about Chicago's profit and loss or their annual audited financials.
No, but that's
None
what
of those.
I make that, I think about it all as, like, when you say financial statements, I mean, it's a big business, so we have tons of financial.
I'm sorry, did you finish?
No, I mean, we have lots of financial statements.
Right. I'm asking specifically about your father's personal financial statements.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any recollection of your father having personal financial statements?
Not specifically.
What about generally?
Well, see, I combine them all in my mind, like the statements of the company, and so no, I mean, not like specific to him.
Okay. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Not the company, specific to him, where his assets and his liabilities are identified.
Sure, he has accountants who do all sorts of stuff, have all sorts of stuff. But no, sorry,
Right.
I don't specifically know what was prepared on his behalf for him as a person, separate and distinct from the organization and the properties that I was working on. And so I don't know how they did that and who prepared it and the mechanisms like that.
Are you aware of a financial statement that was prepared at any time for the entirety of the Trump Organization, where it compiled all the different subsidiaries, affiliates, and the like?
Well, we had talked earlier, and you had mentioned this statement of financial condition, which I'd seen in preparation, like a portion of it, or I don't even know what it. But I don't know if it's all inclusive and what was. I don't know if that was the universe of assets that he had or the company had.
Can we take a break?
Yeah.
Well,
You have one more question?
it may be one or two. This is what led into it.
Yeah.
Just so I understand, though, a statement of financial condition would list all of the assets and all the liabilities. Otherwise, it wouldn't accurately portray the financial condition of the entities, right?
I've never prepared.
I object to the question.
Yeah, I've never prepared one, so I have no
To
idea.
your knowledge, you're a Wharton graduate.
I object to the question.
Look, I have my own. I've never prepared one. I don't know. I've never made one. I'm not an accountant.
And as you sit here today, you don't know whether it would include all assets and all liabilities?
I don't know.
Okay. Witnesses asked for a break.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The time is 11:47. We're going off the record. And the time is approximately 12:16 p.m. We're back on the record.
Ma'am, I'll remind you that you're still under oath.
Yes.
It's here. I'm going to ask the court reporter to mark as Exhibit 5. It's a one-page document, date stamp TTO 011962995. It's an email from you to richardbyrne@db.com. Yep, thank you. I can't reach that far. I'd also note for the record, the date is November 16th, 2011 of the email.
Okay.
Do you recognize this email, ma'am?
I don't know.
Okay. Does this appear to be an email that you sent to Mr. Byrne in or about November 2011?
It does, yes.
Okay. Do you have any reason to believe this was not sent by you to Mr. Byrne?
I don't know.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that Mr. Byrne's name sounded familiar to you at Deutsche Bank?
Yes.
Does this refresh your recollection as to his involvement, if any, with respect to the Doral transaction?
Other than the name sounds.
Approximately 7:09, and this concludes today's testimony given by Ivanka Trump. The total number of media units used was 6 and will be retained by Veritex New York. Thanks, everyone.